Hey, 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 it is Rebecca Simon Peter with 5 Minute Leadership. And today is the holiest day in the Jewish year. It is Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, sometimes called the Day of Atonement. It's really about repentance and it's about being inscribed into the book of life. And it's a pretty powerful holiday. Many of you know that I was born and raised Jewish and spent the first 30 years of my life, at least, deeply steeped in Jewish culture, identity, religious practice, and community. And so I always go back to the Jewish holidays for insights because it shapes so much of how I understand myself and honestly shapes so much of also who Jesus was that I find a lot of resonance there. So, I want to share with you 5 really big insights about reconciliation that I've learned from Yom Kippur. Number one, reconciliation is a process. Um, Getting out of sync with another human being is not something that happens overnight. It's a series of missteps, miscommunications, misunderstandings, hurt feelings, neglect, imputing bad motives to another. So, just like reconciliation is a process, um, uh, getting out of sync with another, excuse me, is a process. Reconciliation is a process too. And Judaism allows time, the Jewish tradition allows time for that process to unfold. There's a whole month that precedes Yom Kippur that's designed for reflection before you even get into the 10 days of awe, which wind up with the day of Yom Kippur. So leaders are really wise to note if they're losing touch with those that they love and take time to reflect on how you got there. It probably just wasn't one thing, it was a series of things. So that's really important. And quick apologies won't be as effective as actually changing behavior. Number two, big lesson is reconciliation takes focus. So, Yom Kippur is a fast day. I mean, and people let go of other pleasures on that day as well. So there's 5 worship services in an Orthodox Jewish community on Yom Kippur. It's really about keeping your focus on the matter at hand, which is reconciliation, how things got out of alignment. So leaders are wise to set aside dedicated time to reflect on their own leadership behaviors to see which are effective, which are self sabotaging. And you'll know the difference when you look at which behaviors draw people together and which behaviors splinter people. The third thing I've learned is that reconciliation really requires courage and it requires humility. Judaism teaches that before you even go to God in repentance, you got to go to the people around you. You got to get right with them. And in the end, our relationship with God is a reflection of all the many relationships we have with the people around us, all of the goodwill that's been gathered or the lack thereof. Jesus lived out that teaching. We know if your brother's mad at you, man, leave your offering at the altar, go make peace with your brother, then come make your offering. So, leaders, if you want to, your people to be reconciled toward one another, let them witness you seeking reconciliation first. And when you lead with humility, when you lead with courage, that goes a long way toward demonstrating the kind of reconciliation that your people can have with each other and that we can have with God. Number four, big insight from Yom Kippur is that God is always willing to reconcile. So the prayers of Yom Kippur make that clear. Whenever we approach God with honesty, with trust, with truth, God is more than willing to meet us. So I would say to you as a leader, a lesson from Yom Kippur is to be available, be humble, be open-hearted. Now that doesn't mean being a doormat. You're going to need to set appropriate boundaries where necessary for your organization to function well and for people to thrive. But heart to heart forgiveness really shifts the atmosphere in which your community or your congregation is operating. The last thing to learn from Yom Kippur when it comes to reconciliation and leadership is don't forget to celebrate. Yom Kippur is a fast day and it's a somber day, but it's bookended by feast meals on the front and a feast on the end, a break fast. So just as the fast ends with a feast, so it's important to really celebrate relationships that have been restored and relationships that have been reconciled, and knowing that you have taken important steps in maintaining a strong relationship. So don't forget the importance of celebration. Jesus certainly didn't. He was always talking about throwing a party when reconciliation has taken place. So let that spirit of joy be just as prominent as the spirit of repentance or the spirit of sorrow. And so these 5 Yom Kippur insights can really bolster you all year long, and especially in this time and season. Let them strengthen you and your leadership. And as we say to one another in the Jewish community, may this be an easy fast, and may you be inscribed into the book of life. Well, I pray those things for you as well, leaders, as you lead. Be sure to share with us here in the chat anything that you're learning about reconciliation from your own tradition, from the Jewish tradition. And thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like, and you'll get notice about the next one. Be sure to pass this on and share for those who may be wrestling with reconciliation. Thanks so much. Talk to you next time.